a year, but it feels like a year. How you doing, man?
Oh, yeah, it's been a while, man. I'm just busy. I feel like I'm doing 100 things a day here, at
Yeah.
least. Just a lot going on, a lot of video content we're putting out, a lot of different things we're putting out, a lot of people in the Discord I'm answering to, so a lot of things going on. So, yeah, it's crazy. We should probably wait till somebody gets in here, though.
Yeah, no, we could talk through some things just about what we're doing with the site and stuff. Like, guys, we do want to point out that we are making changes to the actual site. All the pages and stuff like that might be a little wonky for a couple days, but we are getting everything straightened out, so it's a lot easier to navigate, easier to go through everything. Those of you who've been with us for a while already know most of what to do, but we'd like to make it an easier experience for you guys. And then as we continue to keep adding people, both members and other people who are with us, we want to make the site as easy to use as possible. So any thoughts or ideas, you can always feel free to shoot me a DM, or also we have the channel. I'm trying to remember what did I have it under? I created a channel for it, but off the top of my head right now, for some reason, I'm just forgetting it. So I'm gonna make sure we have a channel up where you guys can say your thoughts about what you'd like to see and what we don't cover, and we'll go over what we do. But with that said, football is back. Rohde, this is fun, man. This is your thing. You're Mr. Showdown. What's going on?
Mr. Showdown, yeah, that's what they call it, right? Mr. Showdown, eh?
Yeah, you want to go through just like a general sort of overall thought about the game or something, and then we'll jump right into it.
Yeah, I mean, we can go overall thought about the game if you want. I mean, do you want me to take over, or do you want to ask a question about it, or what do you think?
What?
You just want me to talk about what I think for the game?
Yeah, just in general about the game, and then we'll get into
all right, so generally, we don't have a lot of time without Kelsey. We don't have Tyreek Hill anymore, so we don't have a lot of news on this team. It's actually going to be a fun showdown tonight, guys. I think because there's so many different weapons that we don't know. What's Tony's role in this? What's Sky Moore going to do that he didn't do last year? Edwards-Helaire was getting a ton of first rep preseason. Is he going to pass Pacheco, get reps? You got McKinnon there still. He looked good last year, catching touchdowns out of the backfield. They have 3 running backs and a lot of receivers. So, like, what is Mahomes going to do with the ball tonight? He's going to spread it around. We've seen Tom Brady be in showdown lineups before where he threw it to 9 different receivers, and he was the only one in the lineup, and nobody got there. So I'm kind of playing it off like that. I do like the running backs a little bit tonight. I love on the Lions side, I love Gibbs and I love Montgomery, playing them together. A lot of people don't play the running backs together. Gibbs is a pass catching back. He says he can get 1,000 yards rushing and 500 receiving this year. Montgomery's going to get the goal line work. I think he could put 2 touchdowns in. I think Chris Jones is missing for KC tonight. I think you're going to get you're able to run the ball. I mean, I know a few Chargers. Why did I say Chargers? KC fans at work, and they're all like, yeah, Lions could run the ball on us really good tonight. I mean, so I feel in the running backs, throwing Edwards-Helaire, Pacheco, and McKinnon in there as well, mixing in all the running backs tonight is kind of what I'm going to be doing. I think I know Noah Gray's probably going to be a lot more chalky now with him as he's cheap and he's the tight end option, but that doesn't mean he's going to get all the role. They have a lot of players, guys, to use. I think he's viable because of his price tag, so you're going to want to get some Gray. But you're just going to kind of want to take some stands tonight and try to get on some guys. People are also probably going to forget about Marvin Jones Jr. behind Amon St. Brown, and he's 6,200 on DK. So I like that a little bit. He fits into a little bit of builds. Justin Ross, also a KC $1,000 cost player. He was getting a lot of work. He's the Clemson star that didn't really do good from his injury, but they like him, and he's getting some reps. So he could be another weapon that they throw it to on a strike or something. A 60-yard touchdown for one of those cheap guys is all you need. So
yep, absolutely. Well said. There's a lot of unusual stuff that we don't exactly know what to do with right now. It's really annoying to me because there we go. Now it's got to refresh with Kelsey. I keep looking at for some reason the projection site was like going back and forth. But it is interesting. So let's start with the cheap things. And first, I want to point out this is not a slate where you necessarily need to dumpster dive. You have plenty. I mean, even if you're putting, I have a lot of different captains. For those of you who've seen my early builds, you know what I'm talking about. There are so many ways to build without having to dumpster dive. But you do have Noah Gray and Blake Bell, who get some, they'll get some usage anyway, even when Kelsey's in. I think that Gray is going to be it seems like the more obvious one. But I kind of like the idea of taking some Blake Bell if I do want to dumpster dive all the way down. And for the cheap guys, I'll just go through the ones I like. I like Bell. I'm gonna have some of him. I'm gonna have a little bit of Justin Watson, a little bit of Khalif Raymond, but none of these guys are priorities for me. I think Bell and Gray are the two cheap guys that I'm probably the most interested in using. The other one, once you get to a tiny bit higher range, my favorite play on the slate for tournaments is Josh Reynolds. I believe in continuity and especially early in the season, quarterbacks being familiar with certain targets. And one thing is, everywhere that Jared Goff has gone, Josh Reynolds has gone as well. So he is his most familiar receiver. He's going back to the Rams days. So I do love the idea of using some Josh Reynolds, and I'm gonna be playing that. I like your point about Marvin Jones Jr. I feel like he gets lost a little bit because people are going to immediately do the Amon-Ra St. Brown. They're going to start with their spend ups as Amon-Ra St. Brown and Mahomes, and then Jared Goff to a certain extent. But I really like the idea of getting a little different and using some of these other receivers. The question is, like you said, with Sky Moore. So what is your stance on Sky Moore? Let's say the ownership, it looks a little spread out. I don't quite buy that it's going to be as spread out as it is, but Sky Moore, if he's really 30% owned, I think it's right I would probably take the overweight stance on that. Where would you stand on a guy like that in the mid tier?
You think he's going to be 30 or he's going to be more than 30?
I think he'll end up being more than 30, but
okay,
that's my.
I got him a little lower than that right now. I'll probably be under on Sky Moore. I probably take more shots on Scaling. Tony, you got this new rookie Rice. You got Justin Ross, which I just talked about. You got Justin Watson that you just talked about. There's a lot of weapons that they're going to mix in. They liked Watson last year too, that Bobby just mentioned. They might give him a little run, So there's a lot of guys here.
Yeah,
I think just mixing them up. I'll probably be under the field on some of the higher owned ones just because I'm going to be mixing in some of the other guys more.
Yeah,
and I'm not going to build like 150 lineups. So if I did, I'd probably be about the field on Sky Moore. But being that I'm less than 150 lineups, I'm going to probably be around a little less than him because I'm not going to jam him in a lot of lineups.
And we got a question here from Triple J asking you, what do you think about some Brock Wright? I'll answer first, then you go ahead. But my take is that I don't think I would rather play the cheap, Blake Bell than I would the cheap Brock Wright, who's technically the tight end 3 to start the season. Maybe you could argue that he's the tight end 2. I love your general strategy. We're on the same page with this, double running backs in general, and also double tight ends. We've gotten away with a lot. But I personally don't find the need to go into a guy who, may get a few snaps, whereas I've got guys on the other side who are like Noah Gray, who are almost certainly going to get a bunch of snaps, and Blake Bell is going to get some of them as well. So that's where I'm at. I'm not as high on guys like Brock Wright. But why don't you talk a little bit about Wright, and then you know Detroit a little better than I do. Laporta seems like he's going to get lost because of his price. What do you think about the tight ends over there?
Yeah, I'm not getting any Brock Wright. He is 600, but you can really probably get some leverage playing Laporta today. He's not showing a lot of ownership today. Mm-hmm. We don't know what he's going to be usage, but they're going to need someone down the middle, I think. I like tight ends. I've always done double tight ends. I've always done double running backs. I feel like using tight ends and running backs are how we get different on showdowns, how I put myself at the top. A lot of these and chance to win late into the showdowns using double tight ends. And you can probably do that on the KC side too with Bell and Gray. But I don't like it as much, but I like Laporta. I think I'm drafting a lot of him in best ball. Mm-hmm. So I think he's going to be a used player. I think they're going to use the player. I think they're going to use him.
Yeah, so, one thing I'll tell you from watching Jared Goff for so many years, both at Cal and then as a Rams fan, he will throw the ball to his tight ends.
Yeah, Higbee, when he was throwing to Higbee, right, when he played for the Rams?
Yeah. Yep. He was throwing to all the tight ends.
We were playing a lot of Higbee back then.
We were playing 3 tight ends for the Rams back then because they would just find the tight ends.
Yeah. So I think he checks down a lot. Amon gets a lot of those check downs across the middle too. But I think he's going to start using Laporta so that can open up Amon on some bigger plays, I think. So we got to watch this Detroit offense. Everyone's hyped up about him this year. So we'll see what they got tonight here.
Yep. And I'm gonna throw in a couple of things that are just from a game standpoint that I feel like. First of all, Jared Goff has never lost a season opener, just for what it's worth. That's 6-0. Not that you have to put a ton of weight into that. There's obviously different teams.
I think Andy Reid is 9-1 in the.
Yeah, so something's got to give, right?
In open, yeah. So something's got to. Yeah, so I was just countering that.
Yeah.
Goff thing. Something's got to give today, I think. So,
And the game being in, it is weird to see Detroit as only a 3.5 dog. That's the other thing in KC. That's just strange. I know the line moved because of Kelsey, but like I like Detroit to upset him here. I am unfortunately I got on the Detroit bandwagon really, really early. So now when everybody else jumps on, you feel like you're just like another guy. But I actually still like this Detroit team, well enough. I think they win 10 plus games this year, and I think this is going to be a good spot for their offense. Where do you see? Who are some of the guys you're highest on in terms of this actual slate? Like what are the plays that you're taking some stances on, whether they're chalky or not? Who are the guys you currently are going? I'll mention some names like between Kadarius Toney, Amon-Ra St. Brown. I guess I'm asking you more about the chalky guys. Where do you stand on the spend ups?
I mean, I like Amon, but he's not fitting a lot of my builds because I'm doing the double running back, so he's getting a little pricey once I put both of them in with Mahomes a lot. So I'm probably higher on Montgomery and Gibbs today. I like, you guys mentioned Josh Reynolds, as someone in the chat did. I like Marvin Jones.
Oh, I did. I went on a whole spiel about Josh Reynolds.
Yeah. I mean, someone mentioned him in the chat as well. Yeah. I was reading. Khalif Raymond might be a guy that they hyped up a little bit too at $800 on DK. Mm-hmm. I threw a few of him. I want to make sure I get a lot of these guys. Mm-hmm. I think, we're going to see a different, attack here today. Maybe it could be a high scoring game. I think the running backs get some work though. And I think Mahomes spreads it out. And I did build a Mahomes only lineup, a 5-1, which some of the contest sims that we got on Saber Sim was kicking out some 5-1 builds just because Mahomes is going to spread it around so much today. We don't know where the work's going to go. And maybe that we do know some of the main guys on Detroit, Montgomery, Gibbs, Goff, Amon. You can get all them in there with Mahomes captain type build. We've seen that before. It's kind of a weird build, but it usually works more with running back. But if he's going to throw it to 7 receivers, it also could work too.
Yeah, the only issue I have with that, ever taking a quarterback who's not really a major running threat, and I know Mahomes can move a little bit, but like that's not his threat. He doesn't really run for any scores. Is that somebody is going, like, if you're going to play Mahomes, that means you're playing him because they're scoring points. So somebody is going to have to score touchdowns. And I guess my biggest stance is that I think McKinnon is one of the best captains on the slate. I think he's the biggest beneficiary without Kelsey, at least historically he had been. There's familiarity there. They use him in the passing game, in the short passing game, in the intermediate passing game. They really use him almost like a wide receiver when he's in there, who they just, they throw the little bubble screens for him and all that. I love McKinnon. I will be high on him. And I like the idea of playing McKinnon with Pacheco. I even have some McKinnon and Edwards-Helaire in the same lineup. So I personally won't do the Mahomes quite on his own thing because I just don't see – I feel like if they're going to score like 4 touchdowns, that means even if the guy catches 1 touchdown, somebody's going to have to be that guy, right? Like, and that guy's going to have to be on the winning lineup because there can only be so many points scored. So it
usually works for the lower scoring game, right? So,
yeah, it might work for the lower scoring.
But we think these defenses hold a little bit more, and there's a lot of running going on, and the clock ticks a little bit more.
Yeah, or maybe Mahomes does, somehow do one of those little trick plays, and he runs one in.
Runs one in on the side, yeah.
Yeah, and then they only score one other touchdown through the air, and then they score a couple field goals or something like that, and they score 20 points. Yeah, that's totally doable, I guess. What are you finding yourself with? And I mentioned that McKinnon is one of my favorite captain plays. I want to go not chalky at captain in general. I like Kadarius Toney. I'm not saying that this is not like owned or whatever, but I'm just looking at the ownership here. And at captain, you've got, Mahomes as projected to be roughly 25%. You've got Goff around 10%. You've got Amon-Ra around 10%, Gibbs at 8%, Montgomery at 8%. Then you get into all of the other Chiefs guys. So I guess I'm a little different in that I'm going to be overweight the other Chiefs guys versus I'll play Mahomes with like one of them, but there will be a Sky Moore or a Sky Moore, an MVS or a Tony basically in not all of my lineups, but in a good portion. And if not, it'll be Noah Gray. I'm going to be way overweight all of those guys, including captaining them. Right now, my highest owned captains are McKinnon, Tony, Josh Reynolds, oddly enough, but I'm going to probably whittle that down because that's a little bit too greedy. And then Amon-Ra St. Brown. But I would like to not play the mega chalk. So what are you doing at captain? Are you using one of those running backs at captain? What are you doing?
Yeah, I like Montgomery at captain a little bit. I like Gibbs at captain a little bit.
Mhm.
I'm throwing some McKinnon in captain, like you mentioned. I'll have some other guys in captain, some cheaper guys.
Yep.
Um, I'll put Laporta in one probably.
Mhm.
Um,
I actually really like that Laporta idea, and I've got a big note here to make sure to get more of him. I
yeah.
just think he falls by the wayside. No one's going to think about him really.
Also, what people do first week, everyone thinks the points are going to be scored a ton. No, everyone forgets about kickers and defenses. I threw a little bit of those in because I like to mix a few of in just in case of a fumble or something crazy happens.
Yep.
So always remind yourself, don't just get off of the defenses. Oh, Mahomes is playing, right? We're going to score 100 touchdowns, or it's going to be 45 to 60 or something. Well,
Right.
it doesn't always happen like that. Prime time, they're going to be a little slow. Remember, Detroit did not play much in the preseason, so they're going to come out a little soft probably. I'd be worried about that a little bit. That's my only concern. Is some stat out there says teams that don't perform well week one that don't play in the preseason. So I would be a little hesitant on that. I don't know the exact number, but someone gave it to me earlier.
Yeah.
So maybe it slows them down a little bit. Maybe just that's why I'm kind of on the running backs. Maybe throw a defense in there or kicker or something a little bit too.
Mm-hmm. I like that. I'm really liking this build this Laporta, Josh Reynolds. I feel like those are good differentiators, and especially Laporta as a captain. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think that makes a lot of sense. And I also love the double running back with the Gibbs and Montgomery, like you mentioned. But I mean, is it too crazy? And maybe this is not the right thing for it, but you can get him in pretty easily. What if you played all four running backs with the quarterbacks?
I have a lot of three running backs to be honest with you, but I haven't dipped into the fourth one. I was still going to build a few lineups. I'm still building right now as we talk. I like
Yeah.
to do that as we build. But yeah, I might throw one in. I got a little bit more McKinnon now, so he would be the fourth guy that I've got. And I got Gibbs, Montgomery, and some Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I do have some Pacheco, and so I'm just throwing in two of those running backs with the other two running backs and just kind of seeing what it looks like with the two quarterbacks. I like that a lot, actually.
Yeah. So we got a question from Banks here, the Ant-Man. What's your favorite MVP on FanDuel? I know we don't. I'm sure you're probably not playing on FanDuel because I hate I hate FanDuel for these things. Who would it be? I'll answer after. I guess if you want.
Well, actually, I just looked at FanDuel because a couple people mentioned FanDuel to me, and there's a massive overlay over there. The $44 contest for 50K up top is 2,700 to 4,000 filled. So there's a little bit of leverage you can get over there. There's still about 40,000 to go, almost 50,000 to go on the $9 for 500K. So you might want to toss a few over there if you can.
Yep.
The best way it's hard to get over there on FanDuel is you want the captain price doesn't change, so that really affects the lineup. I would still go with the running backs, to be honest with you, because most people are going to play quarterbacks, or they're going to play the number one receiver. They're going to play Amon, or they're going to play Mahomes, most likely Mahomes and the captain, just because you get so many more points. So if we're thinking they're having a lower game and more running backs, put a running back in there. Hopefully they get 2 touchdowns, 100 yards, and 5 catches for 50 or something. And he's the captain, or pick one receiver. Like you said, you think one guy goes off like Sky Moore or Tony, you like pick your guy for the night, put him at captain with Mahomes and then 3 Detroit guys on the way back and try to get different. Maybe play Laporta. You can, I haven't done a build over there yet, which I mean, hell, we can do one. Just kind of see what the pricing looks like. Yeah, Mahomes is 3K highest player, so he's going to be hard to get in. But I mean, you can still play him.
He's going to be 1,000,000% owned as the captain, and that's fine. I think if you're playing him as a captain, and tell me if you think this is wrong, Rohde, I think you want to make sure to leave like 1,000 at least on the table, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, that's an option. Or you can play the, really low guys. I mean, problem is Noah Gray's 5,500 over there. That Ross is 5,500. So there's some cheap guys. Blake Bell 5,000.
Yep.
If you want to go that route, I mean, that's a min cash guy. So it's just going to be hard to get all of them in there, for sure.
You know what I'm going to do is I'm going to do one more lineup over there, and I'm going to put your guy in. I'm going to put the Laporte, not even your guy, just the guy who you mentioned first as captain, which I wasn't thinking about. And why can't they do it at least like they do other sports where you have the MVP? Like in basketball, they do like the MVP. There's the 1.2 times, the 1.5 times, and the double time. That would at least make it a little bit interesting. You know what I mean? Because it is hard to picture Kadarius Toney just off the bat, like outscoring Mahomes. But that would make it like a little bit more. I don't know. I wish FanDuel did something different. Their showdown stuff is not my favorite, but that's why no one's playing it. So if there's going to be some overlay, you might want to get in there.
Yeah, I might want to get in there. I just built one. I did a running back captain. I was able to get Gibbs, Montgomery, and Laporta in there with Mahomes and another guy. So I like that build a lot. It's a running back to pair with Mahomes in that lineup that I just made.
Laporta is way too cheap on FanDuel. He's 6,500 over there.
Who is?
Laporta.
Yeah, Laporta. He was easy to get in. So I like the Gibbs, Montgomery, and Laporta. Leaving Goff out, putting Mahomes in, hope he spreads it out. Maybe a running back for KC punches one in or two, and you got him in your lineup with Gibbs getting pass catches and some touchdowns in this game. So, I mean, you can even I would even flip it around, take those same 5 guys you like and just rotate them in the captain spot, because you don't get a multiplier, so you can just keep switching the 5 guys around that you like, So that's what I like to do a lot of times. I'll build one, then I'll switch the captain out. So maybe this one on Montgomery captain, the other one I had Gibbs captain, the next one on Mahomes captain. You know what I mean?
Yep, absolutely.
So you can just kind of rotate them out for the 5 guys you like, get some low-end guys, leave some salary in that, and then mix and match your guys on FanDuel.
Yeah, and
how many guys we got in here and watching the video tonight? 18. How many likes we got?
Oh, guys, we got to get the like button. Rohde, tell them.
I don't have the YouTube page up right now, so yeah. So that's what's going on. It's kind of crazy right now. I'm a little behind on building. I threw a 20 max in for that $3. I'm going to use SaberSim and spit out 20 lineups here, and throw them in that little $3. See how that works out for the night. I did some contest sims for that contest alone on Saber. So we'll see what we end up getting. I did 20 lineups. I'm still learning this a little bit myself. We're getting a lot of, we're getting some 3-3s, 11 3-3s, 8 4-2s, and a 5. We did get a 5-1.
Interesting.
Mahomes in the lineup with Amon, Jared Goff, Riley Patterson, Khalif Raymond, and Montgomery. So pretty wonky. You're going to get some weird builds over there on Saber in the contest sims.
I love it.
They're shooting for first place.
Yep, that's right. No rights to complain. And speaking of no rights to complain, there's a guy who I really like as another sneaky play that I have a note that I have to get in.
Okay.
This is a weird one. I think Richie James could be. Why can't Richie James be every bit as good a play as any of these other receivers? And he's going to be low owned, but he's actually the difference is he's like a game breaker. He has game breaking type of ability. He can break one big play and then also become a main receiver for you. And we know Mahomes is going to spread it out, but I just think Richie James gets lost in this whole slate. And I like the idea of playing him. What do you think about Richie James?
You know what? He's one of those guys on that big list of 7, 8 guys on DraftKings. And it's crazy. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 guys actually. One's not projected for any points. 3 or 5 are projected for 5, 4, 3, 2, 8. But yeah, he's projected for 4 or 5 points, 3% ownership, 2K price tag. I mean, that's viable. I mean, we're taking shot. Nobody even knows what they're going to do. So these are really weird lineups today, guys, because you're gonna get a weird one that's gonna win tonight, I think, and it's not gonna just be. There's no Travis Kelce 3 touchdown game gonna happen, and I'm gonna tell you that right now. I guarantee it.
Yep. You're right. But that's for sure. The thing at the end of the year that was interesting to me is that, and this is look, when you're playing for the Giants in Daniel Jones, it's a very different game. Are we going to see the Giants receivers now? Do they just shift it over? Kadarius Toney that goes now. Richie James comes in. Richie James was a monster at the end of last season. I'm kind of talking myself into a Mahomes, James, Toney builds with Laporta and potentially both running backs or St. Brown and Goff in some sort of formula. That's sort of where I'm looking right now. And
I like that. I might throw some of him in too. So yeah, I'm really kind of mixing it up at the receiver position tonight. That's why I don't have 30% Sky Moore or Noah Gray that much, because I'm trying to get all these weapons and I'm not building a ton of lineup. I mean, 50 lineups or so.
Right.
But like, I got to kind of pick and choose guys to spread it around, because I think they're going to spread it around tonight. I really do.
Yep. I think you're probably right, but I'm going to side with the guys with the super talent, and unfortunately, they've got three of them. I mean, in terms of like home run hitting ability, like home run meaning like big play. Kadarius Toney, Sky Moore, and Richie James, I think, are going to be my main ones. You could argue that MDS is one of those guys. I don't personally think that, but you definitely could argue it. Okay, so we're going to probably get out of here so you can finish your builds and not stress too much. I appreciate you jumping in here with me, man. Guys, remember to please hit the like button before you do get out of here. Rohde, any hot takes you have for tonight, for the season? We're going to be live 11 Eastern on Sunday as well, so we can maybe save something for that. But anything you want to throw out there that we maybe didn't cover? Because one thing we've talked about is spreading out does make sense. I'm trying to limit that spreading out and play the Richie James, Laporta, both running backs from the Chiefs, both running backs from the Lions as my core. Tony James, yeah, that's right. What is sort of something you can leave us with from this or for the whole season?
It's going to be a fun one, guys. There's a lot of new, like Sheets has been saying, there's a lot of new tools out there in the industry, a lot of contest sims. So we're thinking some of these guys are getting a ton of ownership, and then everyone realizes, hey, we don't want to play 40% Sky Moore, so we're going to not. So when you look at it, Sky Moore ends up 14%, and he goes off, and then everyone's like, why didn't I have Sky Moore? So really be careful with ownership, guys, as we get in the showdown slates. Just get weird with your roster constructions. I would say the double running backs, the double tight ends, stuff that gets you different without getting rid of taking on too bad of players. Like I'm not going to dumpster dive and grab a $200 player because I need to get different. I'm going to make my construction of my roster different based on positions that I'm playing.
And as you said, like me and you are big believers in this. Sheets believes the opposite. I think that most people in the industry are more with us. I really like the idea in general and especially for larger slates, it makes more sense. But for this slate, I think it makes actually just as much sense. But you really want to try to have a little story that makes a little bit of sense. You know what I mean?
I love the story idea.
Make your lineup make a story. Tell a story. Don't just, instead of randomly plugging six guys in. And we like to do the double running backs for a lot of different reasons, but there's a story. And if you in those lineups where maybe you're playing the double running backs for the Lions, maybe you play two of the receivers from KC because you know that you're betting on them running the ball from being ahead. Maybe if you're going to play both running backs from the Chiefs, you want to play the passing game for the Lions. That's sort of the way that you should approach these in general, regardless of this one or not, right, Rohde?
Yeah, I agree.
Yep.
Wow.
All right. Well, it's great to be back, guys. It'll be really fun to have the full slate on Sunday. I can't wait. Rohde, thanks so much for jumping in. Me and Rohde are going to record an NFL show a little later. So that should be up by the end of the evening. And let's crush it tonight, guys. We'll be in the Discord all night and sweating baseball, sweating football. It's a fun time of year. So let's get it, guys. I'm sorry. Oh, I blew it for you. Rohde, you have to finish the show.
All right, guys. As always, let's